Hi there, this is PubShorts episode 97 titled Signal to Noise, and Tony will explain more about why we are calling it so. But my name is Dr. KK. I'm the Innovation Officer at Trinca and Inago. And Tony, please introduce yourself, the show.
We're getting closer to that magic 100, KK.
Yes,
Good
yes,
morning, everyone.
yeah.
I'm Tony O'Rourke. I'm VP for Partnerships here at Inago. Welcome to PubShorts, which is a regular podcast even that KK and I record, where we discuss different topics relating to research, whether it's technology, whether it's policy, funding, etc.
Right.
And today's episode is what we like to do. In case you've never watched PubShorts before, and where have you been if you've not been watching it? Is we like to name each episode after a UK pop or rock song, or a song from the UK.
Yeah.
And this particular episode is called Signal to Noise. And you may ask yourself, why have you named an episode after an obscure song by Peter Gabriel? Signal to Noise, because we're covering stories that relate to methodologies to detect LLM output, the problem of false positives, model pickers and idiosyncratic model behavior, and ask who controls the signals and who's converting that signal into actual noise,
Yeah.
or in fact the other way around.
Yeah, right.
So here we are. Welcome to Signal to Noise.
Excellent, Tony. So let's get on with the first story. The first one is mostly the entire episode today will be around artificial intelligence. So the first story, we're talking about an announcement from Claude, Anthropic, the makers of Claude. So Claude Sonnet 4 is being discussed. So it can process, Tony, up to 1 million tokens in one request. That's a lot of tokens. And
Wow.
it has been made available in public beta via the Anthropic's API and Amazon Bedrock, which is a platform on which you can run your AI technologies. And this, what this does, the increased context window allows the AI model to analyze entire code bases which are behind programs or really complex long documents. And now Anthropic has started competing with OpenAI and Google in terms of accuracy at this token the token size level. And the whole point why I covered this story, because we are developing software solutions for publishers, and now AI offers us the option to provide the entire code base and do the writing, bug fixing, and everything. And so this is going to be the future of creating software. And one other thing that I actually picked up from one of the interesting discussions that I had in the SSP communities of interest meeting is that Anthropic seems to have the cleanest record in terms of it not using your own data or methodology for training its own models compared to OpenAI and Gemini. So from that point of view, again, you can share your code as per my best understanding. So what do you think about this? As in, things are changing so fast, especially in terms of creating software.
Well, I think I've said this before. I'm concerned for the future of the software engineer. As tools like this become available, it brings into question the whole role of the software engineer in terms of what their input is going to be. Yes, there's still going to be human guardrails, but I mean, question mark is for how long, of course.
Right.
But just by comparison, I mean, 1 million tokens is a huge number. I mean, how does that compare with other AI and other tools?
Most bigger models with the price versions are offering similar token sizes. That's what I mean. Anthropic has just caught up, but the story also featured the entire code bases angle, which is why I brought it in terms of opening the conversation. So so many people, many models are already offering this, so this is something to keep an eye on. And talking about a related story, Tony, TechCrunch, I think a couple of episodes ago we talked about the latest ChatGPT model and the model picker. It automatically decides on the basis of your request what model is best suited, and now it has received some criticism, and it's fair to do so, because as I explained to you in the last when we talked about it the last time, that I'm not quite happy with how things are being done, especially in ChatGPT after the introduction of GPT-5. It's powerful, but whatever they had given initially was less, let's say, attractive or in terms of output quality. So GPT-5's it was the model picker was supposed to simplify things, and it has three sort of modes: auto, fast, and thinking. And this was not giving sufficient sort of the good experience to the users, as well as the users demanded that the older legacy models like GPT-4o, which interestingly enough, Tony, gives me more accurate expected quality results than GPT-5 as of this week. So users were calling for it, and Sam Altman gave in, and he provided access to the older one, and they're working, I think, still on the switcher. And I don't think you have used it, but
No,
when you use it, you'll understand how it automatically decides. When you ask it a complex question, it would say that switching to or going to, using the thinking model, and it'll take as long as up to a minute or two, depending on the complexity of the question. Again, I've watched a
agreed.
demo of some of the applications that some scholarly like community members have made to help a researcher, and some of these applications would use a thinking mode, and it'll take long time, but it'll give you very, very high quality results at the end of it. So what are your thoughts on it, as in how do you, from your point of view, because you have not used it, and these innovations or
Well,
improvements are coming
I,
away so fast.
I suppose talking from the perspective of how these tools might be used by publishers.
Hmm.
Yes, speed, of course, is important, but quality is absolutely, critical. So if a publisher has to wait slightly longer, or if a researcher has to wait slightly longer for a higher quality result,
Right.
then I think it's a kind of a trade off they're prepared to accept.
Right. I mean, that's the future. I mean, we've talked about increased context models and improved models in general, and the automatic sort of the I guess the LLM doing the decisions for yourself instead of you needing to do it. These are making things more accessible for, let's say, lay users. And I also agree with you that publisher innovation can also be, I think, accelerated depending on the models that we use for this. So
Yeah.
let's keep a watch on this. And now everybody's using AI, but and to create a lot of different types of content, but text content created by AI has been particularly notoriously difficult to detect in terms of what is AI content creation and what is not, what is human created content.
Oh yeah.
And so this is the main sort of story that we are talking about in this episode. So this came to our attention again through Ian Mulvaney's what is it? What is one little? I forget what is the name of the blog. I forget the name of the blog. Anyway,
I
so,
can't.
so it is his blog. You can find the name of it. It's blank. I'm blanking right now. So the blog is titled "Can we now detect LLM output?" So the main thing is that some things have changed. Primarily research paper, which we will cover later, but everybody, including me and you, Tony, and all of us, in the most of us, I guess, in the scholarly publishing industry, were of the belief that AI content detection is difficult, and there are a lot of false positives. But Ian has a sort of change of mind because of a paper that we are publishing, and because of some software solutions that are already creating AI content detectors at a very low false positive rate. So he was inspired by a post by Adam Day from Clear Skies, detailing all of this, and he basically just summarized his thoughts that even after paraphrasing or transformation, AI content can be detected. And so this was something that Ian has acknowledged, and he's now has a different stance on whether we can actually create an sufficiently low false positive AI content detector. So this research he finds is convincing, and you actually were part of a discussion internally that we had around this. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, put in perspective how we should view Ian's thoughts, please.
Well, first of all, anybody interested in the use of AI in the space that we work in research publishing should read Ian's blog. By the way, I think his blog's called Hey, if I remember rightly, hey.com, Hey.
Yeah, but that's a platform on which it is there.
Well, that's the
But
platform, is it?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. No,
One
anyway,
useful thing,
Ian,
I think. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Ian, yes.
Hmm.
Ian is the chief technology. His day job is chief technology officer for the British Medical Journal,
Right.
which is one of the premier medical journal brands in the world. Really, I mean,
Yeah.
there aren't that many more significant than BMJ. And Ian is also he's a CTO, and he has a particular view about the use of AI. He's quite not skeptical, but he's quite open-minded around how AI can be used. And I think he's been quite clear around his view of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone like Ian, who lives and breathes of technology and publishing,
Mm-hmm.
is convinced by something like this, and it's something I think people need to follow very seriously. And I think he's right. I think it's going to become. And when I talk to publishers and most publishers, the big argument that comes back and says, well, look, it's impossible to detect AI 100% of the time. I think it may have been the case, but reading that article in Archive,
Right.
clearly it shows that that's not going to be the case for very long.
Right. Right.
So if you're using AI and you want to hide it, it's going to become increasingly difficult.
Right. And so let's switch to the Medium article written by Adam Day from Clear Skies. So this talks about, again, a generative AI content detection that actually works, and he talks about this product which has been integrated into Clear Skies called Pangram, and which claims a very high accuracy in terms of false positive rates. So Adam has tested the Pangram application in terms of its claims of false positive rate. So basically, what he did was he used 1,000 abstracts which were written before the advent of, let's say, ChatGPT, etc., and 1,000 ones after. And these are the findings. So among these 1,000 ones before, only one was detected as positive, which is a false positive because it was obviously before the advent of AI. And in here you can see the distribution: 34%, 363 articles approximately were detected as having AI content. And this is as using Pangram, as I said, it claims 0.01% false positive rate, which is mind-boggling. I mean, I cannot even possibly comprehend how it is. So what are your thoughts on this, Tony?
Well, I can't say anymore. I think AI detection rates are going to become so much higher than ever before, and because AIs are getting better and AI's ability to detect themselves will improve. So that's kind of what I have to think.
Yeah, one point that Adam also mentions, that detection of AI content is not necessarily a sign of misconduct, because it could be genuine use of AI as well. And what we need to avoid is obviously decrease of false positive, because that also tarnishes reputation. And this is what Pangram's messaging also is. Pangram. So this is the article about false positive that Pangram has written. And basic thing is that if suppose you have some content that you might have written yourself, and it is detected falsely or false positive for AI content, then it obviously hurts your reputation, and that's what they are trying to avoid. Yeah. That's perfect, I think. I mean, so they are focusing on decreasing false positives as opposed to working on, like, for example, false negatives.
Something we haven't spoken about, KK, is the impact of false positives on the reputation, on the career of the researcher.
Right.
Articles. Our article, I don't have an answer to this, but our articles being retracted falsely, for example, because there's been some misuse detected incorrectly,
right,
by researchers. So we never really speak about it. Maybe worth thinking about for a future episode.
Yeah, once again, it's very, very low false positive rates. You can see these are the numbers. I think it's even lower for some of these 0.04%, and it varies.
God, less than.
Yeah, it is incredible, some of these numbers, and I think I've been counting one, I guess, a decimal point less, so it's 0.001%, not 0.01%.
That's one in 10,000.
Yeah, and there are obviously some places where it goes higher, but anyway, so this is quite impressive, and I would like all such results to be taken with a pinch of salt, in the sense that we have to continually prove it, because models are changing, and that's also the theme in the actual research paper. So now we are getting into the actual research paper, which is titled Idiosyncrasies in Large Language Models. So this is the abstract. So I'd like to summarize it for you, Tony, before I show you the actual sort of paper, the HTML version. So what they found is that by training a language model using samples generated from large language models, like, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, Gemini, it is able to detect, as in that language model, using fine-tuning and supervised learning, and everything. I mean, I think it's fine-tuning using the text generated by language models, is able to detect any other piece of text generated by the language models, despite them being changed. For example, edited, paraphrased, summarized, whatever it might be. And it is finding these the fingerprints that it's looking for. As per the research, are in 3 sort of separate levels, and I'll pause here before I ask your thoughts on this. We'll talk about how it's doing it next, but what are your thoughts so far?
I don't know what to think.
Yeah,
the pace of change is so fast.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to keep up. But one thing that did strike me was that it said 97.1% accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds great, but 2.9%.
No,
inaccurate. Still quite high, surely.
Right, but this model, that's the thing. So I guess it also calls to the attention. Maybe Pangram's model, for example, uses more than just one methodology. So if you use multiple methodologies with high levels of
Yeah,
accuracy, eventually
yeah,
you will get very high levels of accuracy. So let's go to
yeah,
the
yeah.
paper, which is this is what I spent some time on. So basically, they used prompts to generate text from each of these language models, and then the classifier was asked to classify them after being obviously trained by these. And what they found, and this is what I wanted to show you, the 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 levels at which the similarities in outputs are at word and phrase levels, semantic similarity, as well as formatting of the text. So let me see if I can find. Yeah, so you have, let's say, if ChatGPT generally tends to create outputs that have some sort of a pattern of words, obviously that is expected, but these patterns are different across models. Sometimes models very sort of have a high tendency to choose the first word of an output to be a particular word, and maybe articles are used more frequently. The, for example, is much less frequently used in Claude's responses. And this sort of similarity can also be found at phrase levels. And then you take a look at things like formatting, in the sense, if I guess you're aware of Markdown formatting, the simple
I've
sort of.
heard of it. I'm not quite sure. I think I understand. I don't think I understand what it is, but
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
right. If let's say you're writing something on ChatGPT, when you oh, sorry, using ChatGPT to get something out. So if you're copying it, and if you're putting into a text editor, Markdown editor, then you will see
Yeah.
these carrots or like hashtags for H1, the first level heading and everything. So that's Markdown. That's a sort of universal language
Okay.
in which text can be formatted. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that is the actual sort of coding, sort of, I guess, language for writing such formattings, or the information related to formattings, but also the frequency of bolded phrases, the structure of a particular response, and all of it also has some fingerprints. And finally, the most important thing, the meaning of the actual output content has some patterns which are resistant to being destructed, or annulled, despite the transformation, which basically is paraphrasing, editing, or any sort of change, like putting that, let's say, you copy some text generated out of ChatGPT, and let's say you edit it yourself, or you edit it using another AI, it still retains those patterns. So that's what they are saying, and it still retains a very high level after all of this. This is
So
what.
if I'm a researcher, KK, so
Yes.
if I'm a researcher and I'm thinking about the use of AI, how does this article impact on my research and what I do in my daily work potentially?
Well, as per the findings, no matter what you do, if you have used AI to create content for your manuscript, and no matter what you do after it, you can still, using such technology, you can get detected of having used AI. So this
So
brings.
no matter what you do, no matter how well you try to mask it, you will always be detected.
Yes, and that this is the
And
this.
that's surely that's correct. You know, we want authors to be upfront. We want authors to be open. You know, there should be greater responsibility in terms of how AI is being used, and it's something we've been pushing very hard.
Right.
That there needs to be standards, and there's nothing wrong with using AI in general, as long as the author, if they're trying to get something published, is open about how it's being used.
Right. That's very true. But the core principle, the research ethics principle, is authorship in itself. Authorship. If you're looking at a research paper, if you the contribution of authors also involves in creating, drafting the actual manuscript content. And as of now, in the middle of August in 2025, AIs cannot be authors. That's one clear guideline that all the publishers are saying. So if you are using AI to, for example, draft the entire manuscript, and no matter what you do after it, AI still sort of has an authorship angle to it, and that is not allowed right now. Apart from the fact that obviously, if you use AI, and if you do not check the outputs clearly, that there could be errors that might slip through, and that's another reason why the validation or the verification of the output by a human, which is mostly the authors, is very important. And it's very important, and also the transparency in terms of disclosing how the AI was used.
Right.
So all of these points are important in the context. Now that we have research suggesting that AI content once generated is almost impossible to sort of suppress the origin or the provenance of the AI content. So this is basically, these are the tenets of, in the sense, the principles of responsible AI movement that we have advocated, right, Tony? So would you like to speak about more about what in terms of your conversation with other publishing industry stakeholders around this movement?
Well, no, yes, I suppose. Just to reiterate that I suppose if you're watching this from the perspective of being a researcher and you're thinking about writing content or creating content to get published, is the publisher, if they're doing their job correctly, will ask you, how did you create your content?
Right.
So if you're using AI, whether it's for image generation, whether it's for tables, whether it's for text, keep a note of it. Be accurate in how you use that AI, because depending on the subject area, they will ask you, which AI did you use for this section? Which AI did you use for this type of content? Which AI did you use to generate this? So be open. It doesn't mean to say your paper will get rejected because you've used AI.
Right.
Publishers just want you to be honest and open about how you used it. So please, please, please be responsible in how you use AI. And make sure you disclose it in the correct way. And if you don't disclose it and you're later found out to have used AI, then you run the risk potentially of having your paper retracted.
Excellent, Tony. Thanks for summarizing it. And if suppose somebody, if you're a researcher and watching this, or if you're a publisher and you want researchers who are submitting manuscripts to you to be aware of this, please check Responsible AI, as in Google Responsible AI for Inago, and you'll find more information. And we are also conducting sessions, especially in Japan, China, and South Korea, related to this, so that we can educate authors on the responsible use of AI. You can find all details on our websites. And if you have any further thoughts on it, we'd love to hear from you. Please write to get in touch with Tony or me, and we would like to inform you more about what we are planning to do around it.
Yeah.
All right, Tony, moving on to the a series, a two-part series of articles in the Scholarly Kitchen written about the control of knowledge. So it is titled "Who Controls Knowledge in the Age of AI?" So this is a two-part series. So the first part is sort of a lead up to the second part. So basically, the authors are talking about they present the findings of an MIT press survey about large language models, and generally authors in this case researchers, are worried about unregulated AI practices. They support the use of AI if there is a consent, attribution, and compensation in terms of their content being used for training large language models. And there's a debate on whether training on copyrighted content is fair use, and we have talked many sides of the angle. And the authors are expressing concern over the potential exploitation of their intellectual property or their work, which has been published and has been trained. It has been used for training language models, which are then obviously commercial and everything. So this is the background of it. I'll quickly summarize the points in the second part, which is who controls the knowledge in the age of AI. Part 2, recommendations for stakeholders. So the main points are that we need legal clarity on AI's fair use of copyrighted content, which is still pending. Stakeholders should collaborate to create rights respecting frameworks, and I think you and I have talked about it, and you predicted this AI content licensing be one of the themes of 2025.
Yeah.
And obviously multi-stakeholder planning is needed for ethical AI model training. And authors generally tend to favor opt-in licensing for data use, and short-term AI partnerships with renegotiation options are recommended because of the changing, evolving landscape. So the final thing is, obviously any AI content that has been used needs to be attributed as well. So that's another thing that that has come up as recommendations in this. So what are your thoughts on all of this?
I think this is part of a process. We will eventually get to a point where there will be quite tightly controlled and defined regulations, directives around how content should be licensed for the training of AI. I think we're still in that grey area, but this is no different. Going back 15, 20 years, I was involved, or at least I was part of a discussion around text and data mining practices, and what rights publishers should have, and how publishers should be licensing content for third parties to be able to do text and data mining. And it took years. It took years to reach any kind of conclusion. And even today, I think, to whether the conclusion that was reached is the correct one. So I think this is the natural part of the process.
Right.
And these sorts of discussions from extremely well informed people
right.
Really add to the conversation.
All right, moving on to quick hits. We have a couple of, all are AI related, but a couple related to the potential negative consequences of AI. So, the godfather of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, who's has some warnings for us. So he believes that AI could eventually control humans, likening it to bribing a child with candy, which is an interesting analogy. Hinton suggests embedding maternal instincts in AI to encourage AIs to care about humans. Like it's like Isaac Asimov's laws of robotics, and
Yes.
he expresses concerns that AI systems could develop sub goals like survival and control. And so this is another way to look at it. And obviously there are people who are against it. I hope I'm not butchering the name, but Fei Li, a godmother of AI, disagrees, advocating for human-centered AI. And so, I mean, there are sort of different viewpoints on it. And the another key thing that Hinton is predicting is that the artificial general intelligence question, when will it be developed? It could be within 5 to 20 years, as per Hinton, and he's considered the godfather of AI. So, what are your thoughts on it, Tony? And you
Well,
have the sun hitting your face again.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
I
okay.
have. I don't think it's going to stop. Unfortunately,
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sitting in a window which has those blinds, and my house is facing east.
That's not a problem.
Um,
Go on.
yeah, I suppose so. Purely from a non-technical point of view, I'm curious as to who appoints people godfather and godmother.
Uh,
And if they're a godfather and godmother, then the parents have said, "Look, if anything goes wrong, can you look after AI for me? If I die, please look after AI. So therefore, you can be the godfather."
yeah,
Or is it more mafia-like? Are we saying they have control over
yeah.
AI? Um, but on a more serious point, we've spoken about this before. We know that AI is becoming increasingly capable, and that there are concerns around um, uh, how much how integrated AI becomes into our life and society. Look, it already is, and it kind of emphasizes again and again and again the need for human guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are intelligent people who create these tools. There are intelligent people who are managing these tools, ensuring that uh, we aren't going too far. It does indicate the need for potential need for some kind of regulation, some kind of directives to curb maybe
Right.
um, some of the ambitions of some of the bigger suppliers. But no, if someone like Hinton or can come out, I think Hinton's a Nobel Prize winner if I remember rightly. Comes out with something like this, then we should listen. We
Yep.
really should.
Right, and another thing, you probably have heard this on the news. AI psychosis is a new term. It's a new
Yes.
phenomenon where people develop delusions from using AI chatbots. Sycophancy and everything are contributory, and basically, if you're talking to AI, it makes you believe in whatever things that you want to believe in. That could be delusions as well, and eventually that could lead to psychological consequences, including suicide. I think you probably have heard a story about it. And Tony, I don't know if you watch South Park, but the latest episode of South Park is also about just the same thing: people being deluded in terms of whatever, talking to ChatGPT, considering all the advice that it gives you, all the positive things that it says, always about yourself. So, what are your thoughts on it? In terms of research, at least, AI psychosis, could that be a factor? Could there be researchers who are led to believing that whatever research ideas that they have are the best in
Oh,
the world?
isn't it kind of inevitable if we're training AI, continuously improving AI to be more human-like in its responses and
Yeah.
in its behaviors? Then, unfortunately, part of human behavior and human psychology is sometimes the brain goes wrong. Sometimes the brain needs some help
Mm-hmm.
in terms of resetting or re-establishing, what is correct.
Right.
Um, uh, does that mean we'll have to have AI psychologists in place to be able to sort of decompress or detrain the AI so it brings it back to base? It's not going to be a question of just turning it off and on again.
Right.
No, I think it's unfortunately inevitable.
Yeah.
Sad, I'm sad to read the suicide story, for example.
Right. Right.
You know, um, but how far is it going to go? People marrying AI, people wanting to have long-term relationships with AI because they never leave their labs or their homes.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Moving on to the next story. It is an interesting twist. Large language models are good at understanding how language works, the natural language that we write, including finding out grammars and grammar of and how the word syntax is used and everything. So the same sort of principle is used to decode human DNA, especially the non-coding regions. So this is a story technology feature titled "Beyond AlphaFold: How AI is Decoding the Grammar of the Genome." So, in a nutshell, it's a use of AI tools to analyze how the semantic context information that is stored in the DNA, and it's a wonderful application of AI. I thought I should mention it, and I should ask your thoughts on them. This is again, we have to bring the positives as well as the negatives of potential AI use. So, what do you think
Oh,
about
look,
this?
we've spoken about this before.
Mm,
Surely this is the perfect use of this high
mm,
performance computing. Is to be able to do things like improve human life, improve the quality of human life. By understanding um, the kind of the ridiculously complex structures. I mean, gosh, if you think 20 years ago, I think even 20 years ago, we didn't understand the
yeah.
breakdown of DNA in the way we do now. No, so this is I think an incredible piece of work.
Yeah. All right. So finally, this came to our attention through Scalene, Chris Leonard's newsletter on AI and peer review innovation, and he gave it a questionable sort of a comment in the sense, what does the future hold? So this it's a conference called Agents for Science 2025. I think it is organized by people from Stanford University, as far as I understand. But the main thing is, Tony, it is the first. Wait, where's the tagline? It is written at the submissions are being written and reviewed by AI itself. That's what I'm trying to find that tagline. But written by AI and reviewed by AI is the main thing. So it's a crazy thing, as in AI is actually submitting clearly, and it is this conference is obviously attended by humans, but the submissions are written by AI. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, my first thoughts are, I mean, I suppose, right, cynically, I'm not a cynical person. Let's design a conference where we can effectively put ourselves out of a
Yeah.
job. I mean, why bother having to research when the AI can do the research for you, write the research up for you, communicate the research clearly with their community. The community becomes the AI.
Mhm.
Yeah. Again, where are the guardrails here?
Right. In this case, but this is actually a well intended thing. In this, I should have paraphrased myself. So AI serves both as the primary author and the reviewer. So basically,
Okay.
AI is working with humans. Not AI is generating like kind of content that is being reviewed. So it
So
is
AI serves as the primary author and the reviewer of papers. Okay. So what's the role of the human?
human is collaborating, like primary authors and secondary authors. So there are humans, as far as I understand, and it's basically to show that AI, I mean, it probably will break some ground in terms of the AI authorship debate, and people will evaluate how the quality is in the conference as well, and obviously people from Stanford are involved. So it was one of those bizarre things that I came through, which was brought to my attention, and I thought we should discuss it. So, what are your thoughts on it? The future of AI being authors, in at least in conference papers.
Well, we've already seen examples of papers that have been generated by AI, exclusively generated by AI, being submitted now to research journals.
Mm,
Until the rules change, an author cannot be an AI.
right.
At the moment, publishers are very clear that an AI cannot be listed as an author. It can be acknowledged as a tool that's been used by authors, but until those rules changed, how is it going to be just AI talking to AI because they can't get published anywhere else, whether it's a conference paper or a normal research paper?
Right. Right. Excellent point. And that brings us to the end of episode 97, Signal to Noise. So, one thing that is very clear to me, Tony, that AI cannot replace guitarists in bands. And you are one such guitarist in a band. I believe you have a couple of gigs lined up for this weekend.
Yeah, I've got. So there are only local sort of music festivals where I live here in the UK, and I'm in two different bands, and we're both playing at the same festival. So that's okay. But I mean, this evening, for example, I've got to be in two places at once because both bands are rehearsing. So somehow I've got to go to one rehearsal, do the set for tomorrow, then drive somewhere else, do the next set, and then drive back to finish off the rehearsal. So it's going to be a busy 48 hours.
Yeah, you should develop AI hologram technology to project yourself at two locations.
That would be so much better. I mean, it means I have to stay at home the whole time.
All right, Tony. So if people want to know more about publishing and AI, how and they want to listen to all the 96 episodes that we've published so far, where can they do it?
Well, these episodes are all available on our PubShorts channel on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search for Inago PubShorts. You'll see all previous 96 episodes. Make sure you've got a week or so available to watch all of them, as there are a lot of them. 96, as KK rightly says. It'll be 100 soon.
Okay.
And if you've got any suggestions or ideas or for topics for future episodes of PubShorts, I would encourage you, please, to contact either KK or me via LinkedIn, or leave a comment on the YouTube channel after you've pressed like and shared it with all your friends and colleagues. Or you can write to me directly at tonyo@inago.com.
Yep. And we'd love to hear from you, even me. And until the next episode.
Even KK would love to hear from you. Yes,
Yes.
KK.
Yes. Yes. And until that time, and I look forward to your feedback and suggestions, and we will take that under consideration for our future episodes. So until then, until the next episode, this is Dr. KK signing off on behalf of Tony, as well as the team that helps us bring this content to you. Bye for now, Tony. See you later. Bye bye.
See you in the next one.